Welcome to the Starting Over Podcast. I am your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is a show in which we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. A lot of you out there might be wondering, hey, Dark Logos, why is my normal Friday podcast so late? What's up, dog? What's going on? Well, here's what happened, my friends. I recorded on a Wednesday. Later than I normally do, because I tell you all, I normally record on a Monday, but working now at Target has created a new thing in my life called work. And it also creates this whole thing of I am sore and tired. So, unlike working at the Capitol, I walk around a lot all day, and my legs hurt, and my hip hurts, and my ankles hurt, and my feet hurt because I'm walking on concrete. And for all those who have walked on concrete for prolonged periods of time, know what that's like. For those who have not, hope you never have to. But anyway, so I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm thinking, yeah, everything's great. Then the next day, I get a text message while I'm at work telling me. No. Tuesday. I think I recorded Tuesday. And then I got a text message Wednesday when I was at work telling me that, hey, check out this information on the watch list, man. This is what happened. And so I had a show in the can, and then I read the watch list conclusions. And a part of me was like, yay, changes. And the other part of me was, crap, I got to record another show. So I thought, maybe, just maybe, I can salvage the old show. And come to find out, I could not, because I make reference to the watch list. And a couple of things had changed. So I'm re-recording a show. So cheers. And we're going to get into it. So let's get started. All right. So what I want everyone to understand as this is sort of unfolding is there's going to be a lot of positives said, and there's going to be a lot of negatives said. Positives, take it as their will. The negatives, it's not necessarily me purely saying, WizKid's bad, I am all-knowing. But some of it is again, comes to this philosophy that I've had is, if the fence is there and you tear down the fence, you better know why you're tearing down the fence in the first place. Don't tear down the fence and not know why the fence is there. So, will there be some, yeah, I told you so, this is sort of bunk a little bit, but I'm not just saying WizKids, y'all's was dumb and now y'all fix your jack up. Now, and it's not that completely. So, anyway, let's sort of get started. The first general rules change that I think that is their big focus is, hey, each time a character makes an attack in a turn, after their damage value is modified by -1 until the end of the turn, minimum 1. And so this is a big problem. That was dealing with a big problem that's going on, but it didn't really deal with the issue fully. Now, it says hey, guess what? There's your flurry will not be jacked with, which was to an extent part of the problem, was the fact that it was flurry plus stat mods, and WizKids is okay, hold on, wait. We sort of got some of that fixed. So we're not jacking with flurry completely. You still can't get magical flurry real easily, but you can, anything else that's not duo attack and all other stuff, hey, you're going to have some weirdness happen. And I think they said they're going to rework duo attack so that it doesn't get jacked over real bad. So it's -2 or something like that, since it already has a -1 damage on the second attack. Okay, so what this also means is I'm hoping that this will stack as if I do 3 attacks, then I would have a -1 after each attack. But I don't think so. I think it's just going to say, hey, I'm going to attack the first time. I got my flat base damage. I'm going to attack the second time. Then I'm going to have -1. Now, where the big issue that I feel is going to come in is the fact that, hey, we have stat mods. I mean, if we were in a world with no stat mods, then it's like, oh, wow, this changes some things. But the fact that we have stat mods, really all it says is like, hey, I know I'm going to get -1 damage on the second attack. Oh, well, perplex up my attack. So no matter what, I mean, not my attack, -1 damage on my second attack. No matter what, I'm going to perplex up my damage and make up for that lack on the second attack. That's it. And you still come out ahead 1 damage instead of 2 damage. Now, I know that overall multiplicity doesn't really become absurd, but, you know, yeah, you're taking 1 less damage. Now, why is this a big deal? Remember how we've been talking about over the last few years that, hey, I put Indomitable on a figure, I get less clicks. And a lot of modern age clicks are like puffed up steroided chickens. Okay? And the older clicks are like free range chickens. All right? The puffed up steroided chicken doesn't live that long. So by knocking off 1 damage means that, hey, those older heroclix are still valuable because they last longer. You have a higher chance of healing and regening and all that other good jazz. And the newer clicks, they just don't flat out die. Now, again, this is saying in a world of moderation where stat mods aren't completely crazy. But if you could see my face. So anyway, as it stands now, I think that they are looking at the rule of 3 being this, hey, guess what? This is going to keep this chained. Now, I also know there is a rule that is in place that, okay, let's say I have my energy shield deflection and I'm on hindering terrain, but then I perplex up my defense by 1. If my opponent, by some chance, is able to shoot at me and perplex down my defense by 1, I'm still capped defense because I have that perplex. That perplex is like a buffer that my opponent has to chip through. You can still say, hey, guess what? Rule of 3, perplex up my damage by 4, and on both attacks, I'm going to be capped damage. So, does this solve everything? No. Does this make some things a little bit better? Sort of. Does this help like the average game? Yes. A lot, yes. So that's how I'm going to look at it. Is that it doesn't fully solve the fact that we have a bazillion free attacks. Like they didn't really address that, which is a problem. What they said is, we have mechanics to give you free attacks, and we want you to do those free attacks, but we're not going to stop that. We don't want you to stop that. What we're just going to say is your second attack is a bit hindered. So Magog is going to do 1 less damage on his next attack using excessive force. But once you start saying this really doesn't stop Magog, excessive force, and, you know, let's say compel. Okay? It doesn't. Or let's say you have a monster that has something like excessive force and being used with Moman. Like, I still have this guy that attacked 3 times in a turn. So there's still problems there. And I think the fact that they haven't really just come in and said, all right, multiple free attacks is a problem. They're just saying, oh, this other stuff that happens during this attack is a problem. And I'm like, no, No. Anyway, moving on. Team bases. This is like Ding Dong, the witch had her broom taken away from her and 5 spells removed from her mind, but she's still a witch. And that's how I'm looking at it. Pretty much how they're just doing it is you will get a free attack for every 200 points instead of every 100 points or a fraction thereof. Okay. And so you still have the same restrictions on. You only can do 1 move action, 1 power action, 1 close combat action, all that other stuff. But what does this mean? This means that to get those magical 3 actions that you had at a 300-point Justice League, you now have to play 600-point Justice League. So that means 300-point Justice League, I think, is capped at 2 actions. Because again, it's fractions thereof, and it's always rounded up. So you have a team base like Shi'ar, at 200, they're stuck at 1 action, which makes some of their shenanigans that they could do, like just shut down. Like they got chiseled at the knees. Now, I would also say Shi'ar needed to have the fire nerfed out of them because they were overpowered. And I mean, we've talked about how overpowered they are on the show, so we don't need to go back into that. The next element that I feel that really comes up is that limitation on 1 move, 1 close combat, 1 range combat, all that other stuff. I think that sadly in game design's hubris that I think is going to show up, they're going to find a way to get around that. They're going to start giving characters the ability to like move twice as 1 action or something like that. Quote me on it, come back to me and say, hey, Dark Logos, this happened. It didn't happen. But I do think that that's going to end up eventually happening because the point formula for team bases is completely different than a standard figure. And so as game design comes back and says, how can we min-max the stats again to make people want to buy? Because again, this is a product. This is a product that they are selling. They are not handing out free team bases with every Coke that you buy. Okay, they're going to need a reason to sell it, and they need a reason for them to be competitive, and for a reason for you to pick a team base over designing a team. Or let me rephrase that, as it being an unhealthy option, like cookies in a Coke and a Big Mac compared to a chicken wrap, a diet tea, and apple chips. Okay, one is very good for you. The other one tastes really good, but it really isn't good for you. And that's how I feel like team bases are sort of at right now. They're even after this. I don't think team bases are good for you because you never think as a player in your construction. Are they noob friendly? Are they new player friendly? Are they the guy that does not have enough time to invest in the meta friendly? Yes, they are. But for everyone else that is trying to get better at the game and spend some time at the game and think on the game, this is not good. But we're moving in a good direction. But I do have a concern in the future to move product, because that pressure from those owners is strong. They might remove some stuff. Next up, where's my magical phone? Because I keep forgetting to mute that sucker. The one phone I can control, people. The one phone I can control. Next up, the working together ability, I feel the nerf that's come to that is needed. And anyone that watched a Gen Con game knows the fact that a team base being able to heal a figure, to have a solo adventure figure being able to heal past the starting rookie experience level that it started on is dumb. It's super overpowered, because literally you are getting way too much additional force added. That yes, you technically paid for, but you weren't paying for it at that scale. And so Does this nerf villains for hire in New Mutants and Gen 13 and who else? Excalibur, really. This really does hurt Excalibur because they needed that. And they said it wasn't going to fully nerf the Hellfire Club, but it sort of does. Hmm. Who else does it nerf? I can't. I know there's probably another team base. Probably that Outlaws and Trinity of Sin very minorly Trinity of Sin, and the like the old school Teen Titans. But the rest of them, it doesn't hurt. You can say like, oh, I look at Justice League. Oh, I need to heal up Wonder Woman, and you really don't. Oh, I need to heal up Superman. Yeah, you really don't. Batman comes off awesome. Flash comes off awesome. Green Lantern, I can see the argument. But really, for most other team bases, they really didn't need that mechanic to be competitive. And really, it was more about being competitive against Justice League and Shi'ar and X-Men Gold and X-Men Blue. That's really it. But mind you, this is a move in the right direction because again, if you're playing it at a rookie level, you shouldn't be able to get more than the rookie level. If you're playing it at the experience level, you shouldn't be able to get more than experience level. And then you also consider the fact that once that figure pops off, Solo Adventure gets beat up a little bit, it automatically can pop back on. All that magical damage it absorbed goes into the ether, metasphere, and disappears. And you can pop that same figure back off like nothing happened. So this is a needed nerf. And anyone that would say otherwise just is not paying attention to the meta. And is not paying attention to just like reasoning. Like, yo, just keep understand like this broke. Anyway, next up is the other element with Solo Adventure. I mean, not Solo Adventure. It's I think to map. And the bonus player gets at the result of playing a team base instead of being +1 for each character on the team base. It will be +1 per 100 points or fraction thereof of the team points. Or of the team's point value. Okay, this is like the best thing that has happened to team bases, and it's happened to the game because what it does, it says, yes, you have a theme team, you have a Shi'ar theme team, you have Lalandra, you have a Shi'ar team base, you have a Paw, you have a Bat Signal. Good for you. Guess what, son? You have +3 to map instead of +8. +3 is feasible. So you look at something creative that like George did a while back where he made that all animal team, and he did pretty well. He made top 8, I think. I know for sure he made top 16. And he made that all animal team, and he really fought to get map. And you think about like everything there has a reason, everything there has a place, but the main goal is to get map bonus. And how hard that was. And then you look at team bases that made it ridiculously easy. It's no different than how the researcher ruined theme teams back during Web of Spider-Man. The researcher was worse than the 30-point Scarlet Witch that came out in Avengers when it came to theme teams. Just how broke he made it. Now, and I would say it's not the first time a black character has broken heroclix. Anyway, but that is the main roundup. I really do hope that these nerfs are the new fence, that they won't get done away with, that they will stay in place, that they will say, okay, we see this monument of stones, and then the new game designers, the old game designers show the new game designers the monument of stones and say, hey, I need to tell you about this time in which this happened so that you may remember so you don't do this. Okay? So that's a big important thing. So moving on, Shatterstar. Uh, Shatterstar makes things a little bit interesting in 300, but beyond that, not so much. But he did need to be looked at, and he was an add addition to the watch list. He was a midnight hour addition. And so I'm just going to read what they said here real quick. A late addition to the watch list. He bubbled up as a piece to play if everything else on the list was addressed. Again, many different approaches were tried with the goal of keep him a solid piece to use, but to remove the abuse of being able to bring a character to attack anyone, anywhere. But it's once per game. But yeah, they could be OP. To that end, he will be issued a errata preventing the teleport character from be giving a non-free action this turn. This alters his play style significantly. You will be using him to position offensively when you can afford to wait until your next turn to act with the teleported character, or most likely you will see Shatterstar teleportation being used defensively much more frequently. And this is the assumption of game design and hubris. Okay? Here and again, there's good. Yes, you cannot do that non-free action attack. Yes. But what did you just say? Non-free action attack. What happens when I take that non off and I do a free action attack? Well, man, he's less points than Shatterstar. How hard could he hit? Ha 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 ha! Stat mods, son. Stat mods. I mean, come on. So I think some of it just needs to say, like, yo, you just can't attack. Like that would have just been like, you cannot attack this turn, period. You know, I think that would have been best. You cannot attack and make non-free actions. So you can't move. You can't, do like, oh, guess what? When I am within such and such a range as a power action, I blow your base up. You can't. Having that in place would have just been the full, like, hey, guess what? What's conceptually the problem is someone taking Shatterstar, putting a very offensive cheap cannon attached to Shatterstar, bringing it anywhere, and then blowing stuff up. And then they're just like, well, secretly we want you to blow stuff up. But on the public level, we need to say that we don't want you to blow stuff up. But secretly we want you to blow stuff up. And what it does is it sets up another GCPD Lex Luthor combination with the utility belt. It sets up like, I just stream free attacks all day, and you can't stop me. If there's anything that would allow for a free attack to be done, I don't know, maybe GCPD, ATA. Hey. That was like the Fonz turned into the Count. But, there's this problem. There's this major problem that free attacks are still the Damocles sword dangling over heroclix head. And they're like, it's good to be the king. There's no problems. What is good in life? Anyway, so overall, I think they make an assumption, and whenever they make an assumption is like, this is how players are going to do it now, and this is what they're going to think about now. I'm going to be like, no, players aren't going to think about that. Like casual players will. People that are like, man, thematically this works. And then some people like, yeah, I can make this tactical U-turn. But most folks are going to be like, okay, so I can't break you this way. I will just use Shatterstar to plop all these plasticity people by you. Or I will use Shatterstar to plop the cop car by you and lock up 4 of your guys. I will use Shatterstar to pop, X, Y, and Z out, and you are now under their, rules and reflective zone auras or whatever. So I don't think this is the end of Shatterstar being this meta abuse, but I do think that this is the end of easy Shatterstar rush. I think that's the only difference. Okay, cool. So anyway, moving on. Batmite, the demon of heroclix, who wears a child's face. I hate some Batmite. And you might be saying, like, how can you hate Batmite and not hate Lilandra? Because Batmite's a con exclusive. I mean, that's it. I mean, sorry, I said Lilandra. Yeah, I mean, Batmite's a con exclusive, and that's the main reason I hated him so much. And you didn't see him independent from a lot of the top teams in the finals. I mean, in modern age, in the top 8. He was on a lot of teams. He's OP. He was OP, but he's still sort of OP. But let's read what WizKids had to write. Another character that brings the danger of teleportation. But this time, it already had a clause preventing the non-free action. Really? Did they not read what he said? I don't know. I'm sorry. I should have busted out. I need to go back into character. The flip side with Batmite was the idol's likelihood to be making a close or range combat attack as a free action. Now, the first thing is the new general rule scales this back a touch, which is sort of weird because you're trying to say that your first rules change is a significant fix, but then you say it's a touch later on. But, okay, sorry. In addition, we are issuing errata for this mechanic. Instead of dealing unavoidable damage on a 1 only, the risk to the idol is now going to result in an unavoidable damage on a result of a 1 through 2. And the ability for Batmite's player to control the location and not take damage occurs on 3 through 6 instead of 2 through 6. Now, to me, they did not remove any of the absurdity. They did not really increase risk. And I think that this is... I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a brief dip in his value. Just a brief. And then everyone's going to realize, hold up, wait, he got nerfed, but he didn't really get nerfed. They just patted him on his head and they said, now, Timmy, you did a bad thing. Now, you know you're not supposed to do that. Now, don't go off and doing bad things again. And then, Batmite's there. It's like, yes, ma'am, I know. And it's going to be dumb. So, yeah, 2014, Batmite. Beware the Bat. Might. Okay. So, yeah, he's still BS. This doesn't fix anything. A 1 out of 3 chance is not increase of risk in this game. So, anyway, let me move on because I'll just sort of spew hate if I keep looking at that. Heroes for Hire's nerf, I think, was probably the best middle ground. And here's why. And I know some people might be thinking that again, I'm mistaken or high or on that stuff. But here's why. Allowing you to do whatever you wanted with it was dumb. Because there were any combination of actions that you could have done for free using that team ability. And as time went on, it would become more and more absurd. Okay? So I would not want game design to think, oh crap, we can't give him the Heroes for Hire keyword, even though he's obviously in the lineup and he's just too baller to be part of that lineup. Um, just because of that ATA. So nerfing that ATA is good. And I'm sort of glad that it is. Now, sort of saying like, all right, you know, you still have the higher token, and you get to make a ranged or a close combat attack as a free action. Okay. What that means is like, hey, guess what? You can still, you know, do your first initial attack and use your, you know, Shaolin Fist super, you know, Luke Cage punch attack, you know, or, you know, Colleen Wing shooting you with the incapacitate dart, but you can't follow up, you know, with run away or charge, run into him, and then punch him, you know, using the ATA. So I think that it keeps the spirit of offense, but it doesn't give you the ridiculous, hey, what's up, guys? Let's do some silly stuff. Now, note, I mean, there's tons of things that it still can combo with, and I know probably another day, or even in the comments below, someone's going to say like, "Yo, Dark Logos, this combos with energy explosion, this combos with this power, this combos with this other power, this combos with this, it combos with this other effect that this Heroes for Hires has. What do you think about that?" And I would say I would take it on a case by case basis, but I would also say if I'm running a pure Heroes for Hire team with the new Heroes for Hire, I'm like, okay, so what? If I'm trying to run a min-max, pimped out Heroes for Hire team, then I would say White Ranger Iron Fist is still a beast. He's still a beast. Now, what also, when we look at this, by taking away just any ridiculous action that you wanted to from Heroes for Hire, and that you had to do a ranged or close combat attack, guess what? Brother Voodoo is not broke as fire anymore. Just not. Okay? And so I feel that, you know, again, I'm sort of jumping the gun. That's all that really needed to be fixed. That you didn't need to touch Brother Voodoo. That Heroes for Hire was the problem, and that was and that was the problem with Ghost Rider. That was the problem with Colleen Wing and Misty Knight. That's the problem with White Ranger Iron Fist. And that was it. It was Heroes for Hire. It wasn't that, oh, their dials are so OP. Man, Brother Voodoo against certain teams is just not that good. And those teams have the utility belt with the Suit of Sorrows. But that's a whole nother issue. So let's move on. Oh, utility belt. Utility belt. Pretty much, they made it so it just says, guess what? Give the assigned character a double power action and turn the utility belt to any click that does not have a power. Do not otherwise turn the dial at the end of your turn. Now, this is sort of interesting. So I want you to get your utility belts out. And I want you to start at the beginning. Start all the way at the beginning. And I don't know if you can hear me click mine, but I'm clicking mine. So you would prep time. And so, +2 stats. Oh, wait, there's outwit there, so I can't use that. Oh, more +2 stats. I can't use that. Wait, +1. I can't use that +1 stats because that's tied to a power. So what you mean is I can only prep time to a specific combination of objects that I have attached to my utility belt so that when I remove those 2 tokens, then it's all good. And the answer is yes. Now, here's the thing. Now, some of you that know the show go way all the way back to sometime around this time last year when the belt came out and they were previewing the belt and I said something along the lines of, why would I ever turn the belt if I had the option to stay on 1? Ding! So now we have all this free attack goodness that people might be trying to exploit by just saying, screw it, I just stay on 1. So then they came up with this in addition. And I'm going to read what they said. In addition, game effects allowing the bat holder to make attacks as free actions created an unintended loophole. Yeah, because you created the ability to attack for free when that didn't really exist before. Anyway, sorry. Where the dial was not clicked. So we're adding a clause to turning the dial section so it says, at the end of your turn, if the assigned character was given a non-free action or made an attack, roll a d6. Now they need to put that on everything. And some would say, well, that would make the gauntlet OP. But here's the issue, and this is what it really comes down to. You still haven't fixed your free attack problem. I'm on +1 stats. I make a attack doing whatever option, or I'd use a free attack using whatever option. Then I go and make a normal attack. Oh, I got a -1 penalty. Oh, my damage is back to what it was. But forget the fact that I have +1 stats. So my range was longer, and my movement was longer, and my attack was bigger. So there's a problem here. The problem is free attacks. And for them to keep referencing free attacks and not really deal with free attacks lets me know. It's like saying, hey, guess what? If you don't give up cocaine and you don't, get some healthy food into you, and if you don't get some sleep, you will die. And they say, well, don't really care. I'll cut 2 of the 3, but I gotta stay on that cocaine. I'll just supplement some other things with caffeine. No, this is dumb. So we see that they're saying what the problem is, but they're not dealing with the problem. So there's some issues here. There's some problems here. Okay, moving on. Vehicles. A year, and what did we all say? It will take them a year to fix this. And it did. It took them a year to fix vehicles. That's sort of sad. But anyway, vehicles / GCPD cruiser, aka cop cars, aka Lamp 2.0, aka beat you without rolling the dice, aka killer of the game by some casual players and other players, aka lockdown. Alright, so here we go. And I'm going to read it in my novel Masterpiece Theater voice. As we took a look at the non-attack capability of the GCPD cruiser, other vehicle-related issues came up. While many of these changes might not be watch list caliber, it was felt that they bring a more rational set of rules for vehicles in general. For one thing, from now on, pilots can't be bystander tokens. Like, who would have thunk? Secondly, since we use the damage symbol to communicate size, pilots are also prohibited from being larger than the vehicle they are piloted. So giants and colossals can no longer be pilots, except giants when they pilot the bug, which has the giant symbol. Lastly, vehicles can no longer be assigned a resource, with resources like the Book of the Red Skull that apply to your entire force. The exact wording of how this is going to be implemented is still in the works. Now this is funny, because here's where it starts to get interesting. All right, issue number 1. They're like, the vehicles might not be watch list caliber, and everyone's been saying that there's been problems with vehicles for the last year. So much so that after Streets of Gotham, WizKids hasn't even thought about even bringing the notion of a vehicle back out because of how bad they were implemented. Okay? But then we got team bases, so I don't know if we got to upgrade or a downgrade. Okay? Now, when they said like, hey, guess what? We just realized how dumb it is for Galactus to be inside of the cop car. And then it's like, oh, guess what? When Galactus gets inside the cop car, which is cheapo points, and it's less points than Shatterstar, then Shatterstar can teleport the cop car, which is carrying Galactus, to the other side of the map, and then the other team blows up the cop car like a piñata, and guess what pops out? Galactus, Eater of Worlds, who is there to kill you, and oh, guess what? Since that cop car is destroyed, he also gets 1 damage dealt to him, which allows him to get a revenge token, and zipping right behind him is the Silver Surfer with the vengeance of 1,000 cosmic suns. Hey. Who would have thunk that vehicles needed to be fixed? Or better yet, I'm about to kill your Galactus. And oh, what's nearby? The cop car. But I don't think I can make it back to my medic. So I put Galactus inside of the cop car and run him back. So even though you kill the outer candy shell of the cop car, you won't kill Galactus. How long does it take for you to fix that? A year, if you're WizKids. So, is this something that's good? Yes. Is this something that should have been fixed last year, or at least the beginning of this year? Yeah. So I give them props for saying that. Now, where I'm going to say, you create a fence, don't walk over it. Don't create a giant that says I can pilot any vehicle. Don't create a colossal vehicle so we have something to shove Galactus into. Don't give us some planet like Mogo and then say, oh, it's also a vehicle because it transported the whole Green Lantern Corps, or the one that the Sinestro Corps was in, that living planet thing, or moon, or planetoid, whatever it was. I can't remember. Don't give us that, WizKids, please. Understand, you created a wall here. Don't go over that wall. Don't say, man, rules are for wussies. Don't do that. Because in doing so, you create larger problems, like losing customers. But anyway, let's go on. With the general non-watch list related items out of the way, the tweak for the GCPD Cruiser is very simple change. It maintains the capability to still move characters about, and it will continue to deal damage. But the penetrating aspect of the damage it deals with, the clear the streets, is being removed. So, here's my thing. We've said that the penetrating element of it is bunk. It just is. Automatic damage is dumb. Now, with that being said, is this a good change? Heck yes. It's needed. For the fact that they didn't get rid of Cuff the Bumper or edit Cuff the Bumper, I'm a little bit sad. But I do understand that the main goal is to have a control element in the game to sort of deal with hypersonic speed. But you had rules changes that dealt with hypersonic speed. So, does the cruiser still need to have Cuff to the Bumper the way it is? And I would argue no. But mind you, I can see why they didn't do it. Because the main thing that people were griping about was not getting away from the cop car, was the fact that you can't get away from the cop car and it can constantly do damage to you. Now, the other element that comes in is that this doesn't tame the beast. It just doesn't. Um, because you just removed it can't do penetrating damage. Add in this magical feat called armor piercing, or have a magical character that says when our characters deal damage, it does a minimum 1. It's all back again. The only difference is that it's cop cars plus pilot plus X figure. You have not solved the problem. And because I know WizKids, they're going to be like, man, we just thought it would be fun to have, super duper penetrating bullets, man. And he allows your whole team to do penetrating damage, or minimum 1 damage. And it's like, oh gosh, just wait. Him and cop cars, best friends. So I'm going to say this. Is this fixed now? Yeah. To some extent for modern age, yeah. Will this stay fixed? No. WizKids has a tendency of breaking their own stuff. So, all right. Now to the big main event for some. The multiple arm woman Spiral. And Spiral's changes, I feel, overall are good. Are they the changes that I would have made? Not exactly, but I do think they are good. I do think that some people's commentary on Spiral now saying she's worthless and that she's no good and that she's a waste of points is reflective of about 6 to 7 months of idiotification that WizKids has sort of created. Now you're going to say, like, how is it WizKids' fault that people are acting stupid? Well, when you make the game broke, dumb, easy, and ridiculously stupefied, then yeah, it creates a culture that reflects that. It's just like me saying, like, hey, kid, I put you on a diet of Coke and cookies for 3 days. Oh, you're going to live. You're going to think I'm the greatest guy ever. But when I take you off of that diet of Coke and cookies, and I put you on, water, whole foods, vitamins and minerals, and very little sugar, you're going to be fiended. And you're going to yell at me, and you're going to give a huffy puff fit, and you're going to be throwing toys across the room until I give you Coke and cookies. Same thing. They've been giving us Coke and cookies. And then some of us have been saying, this is unhealthy. This is not good for us. And then everyone's been guzzling them Coke and cookies like, nom, 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 nom. C is for cookie and it's good enough for me. And for those who are old enough to know that reference, know that he doesn't sing that song anymore, sadly. But anyway, but let's get into the changes. And pretty much, she can still put her portal anywhere. Your opponent's portal, if they have a spiral, doesn't jack with your spiral's portal. And the other thing is that when you put the portal down, you have to give a person a free action to get from one part of the portal to the other. So what this means is this. Spiral uses her magical portal. Boom. It has to be adjacent to her, the first part. So you put the first square underneath the character that you need to go to the other side of that portal. Okay? Then it gets a free action to go to the other side. And again, I left out the crucial part. That your next turn, you get to go through the portal. You can't go through the portal at the same turn, on the same turn. Which a lot of people cried, yes, this is the solution. And I'm like, no, okay, cool. I think it might be a solution. I don't think it's the best. But okay, so now your opponent knows that portal is there. And knows that the portal token is underneath X character. Which can be a team base, a colossal, a whatever. It doesn't matter. Okay, so now when you move, you don't do a move action, you do a free action to go to the other side. Now, what does this mean? This means that your tiny size figures cannot backpack along. That means that if you're a flyer and you were carrying, not anymore, son. Okay, because you get placed. You don't move, you get placed. So all those little homies that you were trying to bring through the portal, that's gone. All right, and I don't think a lot of people realize that yet. Okay, so the next sort of big element that comes in is, of course, you have to move in, the next turn, but it's that pure fact of that next turn you have several limited options. Option number one, you have character A, Primus, who is there to kill the other people on the other end of the portal. Then you have Optimus, and you have, Megas. And yes, I am ripping off Transformers. Optimus and Megas have to be TK'd on top of that portal square, because they have to get there for some way without taking a power action. Give that free action so that once they're on the other side, they can running shot, charge, or whatever else. If they do a stationary action like range combat expert or close combat expert, well, guess what? The portal's clogged. So Primus goes through, and he stays there and does a close combat attack or a range combat attack. Guess what? Optimus and Megas are not going through. So it limits greatly the portal being used as a hyper-offensive element. With that being said, if you did have the TKs in the sidesteps and all that, the investment in Spiral, you're looking to invest an extra 150 to 200 more points that you wouldn't have normally spent. And before I would say with Spiral, hey, you don't have a need for TK. This solves your spatial issues. No. You need it. TK is required. And sidestep is required. Because that's the only way that you're going to make it over and through. And able to attack offensively. Now, the defensive elements are ridiculous, because all you got to say is, okay, Spiral, we're going to move normally. Spiral puts that portal right by home base, and we just fight around the portal. Oh, someone's in trouble. They move normally, get on top of there, free action to use the portal, go back to base, and guess who's sitting at the base? Alfred. And guess what Alfred has? The ability to heal without any penalties. Ching! So is this still a bit BS? Yeah, because you have the ability to take midfield, or even say a quarter way up in the field, and turn that into a instant get home free to heal and come back to the front card. And I pretty much explain to you step by step how it works. At turn 1 or 2, wherever you feel is convenient, or you know where the flow of battle is and where you have mapped out your battle plan, you say this: I'm going to go here, and our return spot is in this base. Okay? So, boom, put out your portals, Spiral gets carried, you go up and move to meet the enemy in battle. You fight, someone's sort of hurt, they move to the portal, they do the free action to go to the other end of the portal. Okay, because again, you did the portal early on. So all that next turn limitations, that's gone. You have shrunk the map for you, because they also changed it so that opponents can't mess with your portals anymore. So the spirals, if your opponent has a spiral, their spiral portals are unique to them, and they can't mess with your portals, and they can't go through your portals, and you can't go through theirs. Completely fine. Great. That's one part that I thought needed to be fixed, because I thought it was dumb. Okay. For your guy that's beat up to be on that TP pod, that TP square, and your healer, your perplexer, your magic magician will heal that character, buff that character, do whatever it can for that character, and the next turn, as a free action, ta-da, he goes right back to where he popped out of the last turn and said, guess what, guys? I'm back, and I brought cosmic powers. And he goes and proceeds to raffle stomp on the other team. So, is Spiral weaker? Offensively, a little bit. Yeah, well, a little bit. You can still do the same thing. It's just harder. Is she defensively way stronger now? Heck yeah! Because now you have an incentive to play defensive with her. You have more incentive than with Shatterstar, which is sort of hilarious because they want you to play defensive with Shatterstar, but that's not going to happen because Shatterstar is a once a game event. If Shatterstar had the ability to do that twice, 3 or 4 times a game, then I'd be like, okay, yeah, I have the option for a defense. But no, Spiral is the new way to just say, I am going to save my team. I have a easy, quick method of getting problem characters on my force out of combat, healed, and back into combat. And if I do my job with my placement, I can provide a buffer system to negate interception from my opponent to get to my home base where I have my support set up. The concept of Pit Crew has been resurrected in High Point games due to this errata of Spiral. Okay? And I've told you, I pretty much just laid it out. You can see point blank how this will work and how easy it is. You know, so I feel that there's a lot to be done. Is she broke strong? No. Is she weak? No. Her stats alone are still worth her points. So I will say this: the whole concept of, well, guy, I'll just go up there and block the portal. That is completely legitimate. That's if I'm a complete idiot and I decide to put the portal right in my opponent's base, and they're there. Because they could just take Cheapo Pogman and be like, yeah, Cheapo Pogman, you stay there. Take pictures. See the glowing lights? That photographer that you got in that Fear Itself little micro pack, just pop him there. Okay? There's no problem. Okay? But if I actually, unlike the Scarecrow, have a brain and decide I'm just going to put this here, you have the opportunity to create false pressure. False pressure. And here's how it goes. You put it in a position that portal in a position that will allow you hypothetically to flank your opponent and always have that illusion that you can flank your opponent even though you have no intention to. Your opponent will always have to be paranoid that the attack can possibly come from 2 angles and has to place accordingly. If your opponent does not, that false pressure can turn into real pressure very quickly. And this is the spatial issue that we are having with all these teleport characters. Before, because the teleportation was ridiculously simple, the spatial combat was one front. I plop my guys here, I beat you up, and now you are dead. Now that the teleportation spatial element is reined in, now nuance can occur. And now your opponent has to think, oh snap, he can hit me here, he can hit me there. I need to have my guys in a little ball, maybe. Maybe that'll work. Oh shoot, he has energy explosion. Maybe that little ball may not work. Maybe I need to spread out a little bit. Oh man, he has some hypersonic speed. He with some good super strength. Oh man, what do I do? What do I do, son? And that last part was the Coke talking. I've been drinking Coca-Cola while I've been recording. So that's not an endorsement for Coca-Cola. It just sort of tells me I need to not drink Coca-Cola while I record a podcast. So anyway, I think that there is some fixes that are in place, and I think it's good. And let me see real quick. While you can certainly place the gateway marker among your opponent's force, gets max. Okay. Yeah, never mind. Lastly, no longer a simple move to go from one square to another. You have to give a character a specific free action. Okay. The one part that they didn't fix, which I think also is bad, is that you can't put in you don't have to put it in clear terrain, which with improved targeting coming out, I think that's horrible, because now it's like, oh, I put my portal here, and I put Cyclops. He moves through the portal, and now Cyclops is completely protected. And watch what I do. So I think could be a problem. It's like, oh, I just ignore blocking terrain. Kamehameha, boom! Kamehameha, boom! So, yeah. I think there's still some issues that need to be dealt with Spiral. Yeah, because it just still says marker of free action and place it in the square of the other gateway marker. Yeah, they really haven't. They made some things better, but they really haven't fixed everything. So anyway, I'm going to read their conclusion, because I want you to get the tone of where they're going. And I know you can read it for yourself, but I just want to do my voice. Those are some pretty big changes, and it will no doubt be some time before they are all included in the player guide with final language. So again, this isn't the final draft. This is what they plan on doing. We would advise judges running events to work with their player base and consider adopting these rulings sooner rather than later. Then why don't y'all just get the player's guide and erratas out faster? It doesn't make any sense. That's it for this iteration of the watch list. Brother Voodoo was determined not to need refinement at this time. The watch list is closed for now, but if gameplay issues come up again, either through new figures or new exploits of previous game elements, we may reopen the list with new additions. And with that, we really are done. Other games would issue bannings to these pieces, but that's not the path we chose. We want you to be able to play these pieces, but we don't want them to be the only option for competitive play. So we have reduced the power on some of these pieces and are hopeful that these changes bring about a more balanced field of choice. Sorry, I had to laugh a little bit. We always want a healthy gameplay environment, but we also want a dynamic environment with innovative mechanics and character design that intrigue players. From time to time, that means we may need to tidy things up a bit, as every other collectible game that has lasted more than 10 years also needs to do. This is why we instituted the watch list. Lots of amazing pieces have come out in the past year that may get a chance to shine now. And there's more amazing stuff on the way. Stay tuned. And with that, it wraps up the show. And I will give you my brief sort of summary. I think WizKids has done a good job. I think they are very short-sighted on a lot of elements. I think that there are philosophical differences between them and myself that are quite evident from you listening to this podcast and me just sort of stating their own words. And yes, a little bit of hubris tone, but you sort of get the gist of what's being said, because they are declaring, they're making declaratives. And I think that's dumb. You can never predict what a player base is going to do. You can say what you would want them to do, what you would desire them to do, but you can never say what they're going to do, because they always do something different. It's that same thing that happened with the Metal Gear game with Raiden, or whatever that cat's name, with the sword, and you could cut anything. When they demoed the game, you had the ability first to cut anything in any way you want it in great detail. And the first demo trailer for that game had Raiden pull out his sword and cut a watermelon into precise pieces. And what happened is the developers so focused on the fact that you can cut anything, when they finally got into playtesting mode, the playtesters did not go through the game. They did not play the game. They did not go to achievements. They didn't really fight enemies. You know what the players did? They went through the entire environment just to see what they could cut. And so Kojima was pissed off, and it's like, they're not playing my game. And they had this whole big debacle. And I think that's what WizKids is dealing with right now. Is we're pissed off at them and we think they're stupid because we're going through their game waving around a katana that can cut anything and not meeting the objectives of the game. And they're pissed off at us because we're breaking their stuff and making it do things because they did not. We're making their language look bad in a light that's been given to us. Okay, so when all is said and done, I think there has to be some coming together, and one of those coming together moments needs to actually be, what is the role of free attacks in the game? What is the role of vehicles in the game? What is the role of team bases in the game? What is your financial interest in these mechanics being viable? And if they were honest with us, just like up front when they were honest with us about fast forces, I think we would have way better product. When they said, hey man, if we reuse scopes for these fast forces, would y'all be okay with that? And we said yes, as long as the dial's different. And what did they do? They gave us different dials. So are fast forces perfect products? No. But if we look at them, have they been great products? Yes. Have they been filler in of time products? Yes. If it wasn't for the fact that you get a countertop display every other month. You know, fast forces were, I felt, the best way to transition people from one set to another. And if you didn't get a key scope or figure or main key character from one set, you had a second chance of getting them in a non-blind purchase. So I think WizKids just needs to be honest with us, not the consumer, but the customer. Because the name consumer is the idea of a thing that ravenously eats and doesn't stop eating. A customer is someone that you have to respect. A customer is someone that you have to talk to. A customer is someone that you have to negotiate with. A customer isn't always right. But it doesn't mean that the seller is always right either. So that's my sermonette for today. Thank you for listening. Check out the podcast on YouTube like you are, and refer to other friends. Check out the Twitter at StartOverPod. It came from outer space, slapped a sun silly and landed in my hand, spoke 5 different languages, and transformed radioactive energy into a nice full digital wave for your enjoyment. You will find out when my new show is up and out and digging and grooving and rocking and rolling. Not only that, you will also be able to hear my musings now and then about the game or other things. Next up, you can please subscribe if you want to. But again, the best way is to, follow me on Twitter because, hey, YouTube does not like me all the time and puts my channel at the bottom of your queue 9 times out of 10. Just saying. Next up, I would say email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. Keep it piffy, keep it interesting, keep it awesome. What do you think of the watch list? Now that it's come to its dynamic conclusion for now. Is it scary? Is it all that you thought it would be? Is this Christmas in October, or is this just meh? Let me know. The blog is on hiatus, but due to the watch list resolution, the blog might be coming back. Will it rise like Frankenstein? I don't know. But now there is stuff to talk about. So the blog might be coming back. Work schedule makes things interesting. So I will see. I might have a new schedule, maybe twice a week instead of 3. I don't know. It all depends on my timing. All right. That is it. Thank you for listening. I will let you know there's some things on the horizon that I want to do, and I'm hoping to let you all know of that in the future. And if you want to see me or hear me talk about anything in particular, let me know. I know that the training series did not go off so far this year as planned. And there's some other things that just haven't arrived, and that's just due to time and other pressures. Last note, unfortunately, I will not be going to South Korea. The South Korean government decided not to give me a second interview, so I will not be doing the podcast from South Korea. Now, some of you might be like, yes, we have captured him in the United States. He's a national treasure to heroclix, and we'll never let him go. At the same time, it was a grand adventure that I was hoping to go on. And I think we should have those in life. So, anyway, that is it. Thank you for listening. And I appreciate you all. I appreciate my cats. Oh, yeah. I had this on the other recording. My cats out there in Puerto Rico, that listen. I appreciate you all. And to my knowledge, someone notified me on the channel to let me know that in November, and if I am correct, according to my messages, the tournament is November 17th, 2013, Puerto Rico Nationals. Be there. Bring your tech. Fight. Not to the death, but for fun. All right. That's it. Thank you for listening. And remember, we all got to start over sometime.
I'm into comic books, figures on the wall. She's into looking good. Vicky C's got along, and she loves my flaws. Yeah, she's not ashamed. I'm a Peter Parker. She's my Mary Jane. 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 I'm a Peter Parker. She's my Mary Jane. I'm a big nerd around her, but she's cool around me. Never knew how she found me. Electric, but she grounds me. And she loves my flaws. She accepts them all. When the darkness comes, I will get the call. I will